everybody. Welcome once again to Geekshow Tabletop, or as my mom called it, a passing phase back in 1983. Didn't quite stick. And this time I'll keep the mom jokes aimed at myself and no one else. So, anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in. Last week I was surprised to see as many people tuned in as they did, because really, who wants to listen to old guys scream at clouds? Or about games, in that matter. Today we have a special guest. Leigh is joining us all the way from the lovely Sherwood Forest.
Yep.
Of Oregon.
Yes.
You're in like the little red belt that likes to surround a very, very blue city. So
that's very true. That's very true. I am. I'm the little blue dot in a sea of red, and we love it.
I've been there. I lived in a town called Canyonville in Oregon. I was literally the guy that everybody yelled, "Hippie!" as they drove by. Yeah. Only one beer can was thrown at me in that period of time. Oh, this is a good face I froze on.
Yeah.
It's going to be the longest day of my damn life. I'm going to leave all this in. This is hysterical. This is the best thing in the world. You suck, camera. Anyway, the reason why we brought Leigh on here is because, well, he's been around a while. He's been with Geek Show to some capacity or another.
Grays. The grays are coming in. Yep.
You were 12 when we started the show, right? Now you're 50?
Yeah, pretty much.
As I remind Tony, he's the same age he's turning the same age I was when the Geek Show started. So it's all downhill from here, buddy. Well, Leigh's on because he's a phenomenal Gunpla painter. And if you're wondering what Gunpla is, that's the fancy pants term for Gundam, or the Mobile Suit Gundam, or as I call it, why can't it all be Zaku?
The mono eye fan himself.
I know nothing about Gunpla or Gundam other than the fact that a girl I didn't realize I was dating because of our cultural differences was pretty sure we were getting married, and when she came back from Japan to visit, left a whole bunch of Gundam magazines on my counter at my apartment that she broke into.
It's a very
Japanese
good memento.
Was terrible, almost as good as her English. He paid a ton of Gundam. Rob is a huge robot aficionado as well as I am. You were just showing me some of your toys.
But I've never really gotten to Gundam, so this is going to be a bit of a learning experience for me as well.
I'm excited about it because by the end of this recording, I'm pretty sure we'll both be pretty into Gundam. Now, you're thinking to yourselves at home, gosh, Uncle Leigh, aside from your stupid-ass camera fritzing out every 35 seconds, what does this have to do with tabletop games? There's actually a huge crossover that's about to be even bigger, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. I am a miniature painter and have been since halfway through Reagan's first term as president, so 1982, 1983, and I've learned a lot of lessons and a lot of tricks, and some of those I learned from model painters. Here's the funny thing about model painting: a lot of folks or a lot of folks at the point used enamel paints, and I found that a lot of the miniature painters were actually using acrylic, because there's a lot more. You kind of have to fake it a lot more with blending and highlighting on small scale stuff, whereas your larger scale things, you actually don't want to mess too much with the grimy stuff unless you're really having fun, because larger scale, the more detail you cram into it, the more you're actually going to clutter up the final product, right?
Yep.
But there's still a huge crossover. Leigh, how has tabletop, in your experience, tabletop miniature gaming or anything along those lines, impacted what you do as a Gunpla painter?
There's little branches of my algorithm that branch off. In fact, at one point in the Geek Show Discord, Rob threw up one of the amazing mechas that was a cross between a Warhammer with a Gundam add-on, and it was like this Sakura beautiful painter, and I even reached out and said, this is fantastic, because for me, that detail that you can quote unquote get away with, but also emphasize in the different shades. I wish there was a little bit more of that with Gunpla, but it's very hard to get that shading effects or metallic blending on such flat surfaces. That's the one thing I wish there was a little more of. It's a give and a take. So for me, my experience deals with whether I want to do weathering, what kind of weathering. I'm learning a lot about by dioramas and stories. I'm jumping into that now. So I have the basics all down, and I'm starting to adapt all the detail that miniature painters even just put in the base. I've never done that, and that's something I'm actually starting to venture into.
There's been an interesting thing of late. A lot of the historically Warhammer centric streamers, a lot of whom would have actually worked for Games Workshop at some point or another, are suddenly getting very interested in Gunpla, like Louise Sudgeon at Rogue Hobbies. I think she just won second place in the UK for a Gunpla tournament.
Nice.
Beautiful diorama.
Yeah, it was just recently the GBWC, Gunpla Builder World Cup.
Yes.
That's been the big hype as of late.
And hers was pretty cool because she actually like completely modeled her entire game table. So her submission was like the paintbrush that she modeled and painted, the paints, the glue, the table, and then like the Gunpla itself was like partially painted with the scenery partially constructed. It was really, really cool, high concept stuff. Rob, I think you'll enjoy this. What I'm finding, it has the biggest lessons available for me to learn as I fix my sass and fuss and stupid camera for the 5,000th time. One of the areas of the hobby sphere that I was surprised to find actually has more lessons than any other for me to learn as a modeler, as a builder, as a hobbyist, is model railroad.
Oh, yeah.
These guys, like, you go into a model railroad shop and you say, "Oh, I'm having a problem with this diorama," and they're like, "Well, here's 3 different types of gels you can use, and 2 different types of weathering patterns, and here's the thing you use to get the bubbles out of your clear resin that you're pouring in for water effects." And I'm just like, I've been doing this 40 years, and I didn't even think to go into a train shop. And Rob likes his trains.
Nice. No, to kind of jump on that, we've been competing in a number of local IPMS competitions. IPMS, International Plastic Model Society, I believe it is. The majority are vehicles, World War II, very authentic stuff. But then when you start getting close, you're just like, wait a minute, how did they do that? They've been working on these feverishly, and I never knew you could do those tricks, whether it be with a decal, whether it be with a mechanical or the details in a cockpit. Me and my best friend, we've been going, and we're like the side table with a dozen Gunpla and a huge gymnasium with a bunch of World War II planes. And so instead of just sitting back, we go out there and say, hold up, how did you do that? And we've learned a ton from doing that.
It was that way until very recently in the tabletop sphere.
So quick question there.
There is definitely a lag, Rob, now that I'm hearing it. Okay, wait till he hears that.
Yeah, there's a huge 8-second lag.
Yeah.
Not a problem. I have a question for Leigh about going to the historical war painters with your models. How receptive are they to you, or have any of them treated you kind of like, oh, get out of here with your kitty toy thing, as opposed to our serious military war history modeling?
Well, I've competed both in Washington and Oregon now. Seattle is kind of famous for having one of the larger ones, and it has been nothing but welcoming, and just the Gundam and mecha genres are expanding dramatically. There is a YouTube influencer who makes models and or scratch built kit bashed items just out of regular items. He did my friend's gonna kill me. He's the Spirited Away castle, Howl's Moving Castle. He literally made a table size out of bits and pieces of everything. I can't remember his name. He was there. There's lots of genres that are crossing over for people to actually put these out in person. It's usually an older generation that's there. Are they as welcoming? I wouldn't say it's welcoming as it is accepting. They'll just sit back, enjoy themselves, and already do what they're doing, but they're not going to push you away. And that's been when we start showing interest in theirs. That's when they say, oh, you did the hot air gun thing that I told you. How did that work out? And then it starts, oh, you use that on your mecha. Oh, that's great. And so that's what we've been experiencing lately. And now our local IPMS president is getting into common rider models. Like it's just a good, nice snowball that we're all sharing in each other's worlds. So it's been great.
The rising tide lifts all ships, right?
Cool.
I mean,
that's right.
That's how I look at the hobby space. We saw it in tabletop where up until probably 5 years ago, the historical war gamers took up the majority of the share. Here in Salt Lake, we have a store that literally until 2 years ago was predominantly historical war games. Now they're starting to bring in some of the more fantasy and sci-fi heavy stuff because the historical war gamers are kind of aging out. And not only that, there's people like me. I won't play Nazis. I just won't. So it's like, if I'm playing World War II, sorry, it's pretty limited to who I'm going to play. I also will not play current wars. I think it's really tacky to play Russia versus Ukraine right now, and there's actual historical war gamers out there doing that. I'm like, nah, you guys are playing a game about people currently experiencing a lot of problems. So I've only painted one Gunpla in my life, and it was a very, very challenging experience for me because I did throw in every trompe d'oeil technique that I know to force 3D damage into a flat surface and a lot of weathering. And the client was really happy with it, but I kind of swore at that point that I would not do another Gundam model until I was humbled, a little more humbled. So, and I'm never going to be humbled. It's just the nature of who I am. But recently, Bandai has decided to grace us with this. And damn you, Bandai.
Yep. Temptation. Yeah.
Temptation Assemble.
Exactly. So Gundam Assemble is coming out sometime in the next couple of months from Bandai International, and it is a miniature tactical tabletop game. July. Okay. July. And a lot of people are taken by surprise because, again, like I was saying earlier, a lot of folks from the traditional tabletop sphere starting to do a lot of Gunpla because it's cool. I mean, come on, it's cool. And here in the States with Adult Swim doing, I can't remember which Gundam. It was a Gundam Seed.
Wing. Gundam Wing. It started with Gundam Wing and Toonami in the early 2000s.
Right. So there's a whole generation of folks who grew up on Gundam here in the United States now. So they're just like, yeah, this stuff's the greatest. We love it. So Gundam Assemble is going to be coming into the tabletop sphere, and it looks great. I'm happy to see that my Zaku, they're saying that the miniatures will be about 2 inches tall. I have an issue because they're monopose, and I think that's kind of silly. But
Agreed.
People will kit bash. But there's my glorious Zaku right there. Don't know why I love the Zaku so much. I always have. I've not watched more than 3 episodes of Gundam, and the Zaku still, I'm like, is it got a Zaku in it? Because that's all I care about. But although this guy down here looks really cool. What is that guy?
The full armor unicorn.
Yeah, I hear they're rare. So, anyway, this thing's coming out shortly, and it I think is going to revolutionize tabletop in a lot of ways. One of which, Leigh, illuminate me on how much an entry grade Gunpla kit runs.
Entry grades right now are anywhere between $10 to $15, which is wonderfully deceptive because it's so much easier when you're sitting there at Target and you see, I mean, Legends, Marvel Legends, and Transformers. There's nothing that cheap now.
No.
For the posability. And I tell everybody when they ask me what's a Gundam, and I tell them it's Legos and action figures had a baby. And it's hard. That's why Bandai has the market on. It's expanding. So
now, say a perfect grade model.
Perfect grade. It's running. The cheaper, or at least 150 upwards to 250, 300 for the complexity, and they are.
There's a reason why I asked. I promise.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Are we? See.
Okay. So just this troll. This is Shrug the Trogoth. Okay. He's monopose. He is not a toy. He is just a piece on a board. And he gobbles things up. Very big model for Warhammer. This is $120.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's fairly typical for a Warhammer large model for a giant, or I've got an orc riding a buzzard that was like $150, and that's why I think Gunpla is going to kind of transform the hobby sphere with this stuff. Because if you're talking perfect grade, which is, for those of you who don't know your Gundam, that's like the best of the best. That is the advanced hobbyist Gunpla model. It's going to take hours to build. And
I got to jump. And Adam Savage did his own introduction into Gunpla with a perfect grade. And that's what's gotten a lot of people into it, actually.
Sure. Well, he's a master craftsman. I'm not surprised.
And the thing is, he loved it. So that's why it was like,
yeah. Well, this is a guy who worked on R2D2 on Phantom Menace, so I think he's looking at it and going, yeah. But those perfect grade models are so articulate they can pick their own nose, So if they had them, which they don't. I wanted to.
That's a hell of a benchmark.
When it comes to things like price points, do you have any idea what Gundam Assembled is going to be running?
I do.
Yeah.
It's around 3,000 yen, so it's going to be around $20. They're saying that they're going to be packs of 3 for that price in each one.
Really?
So, yeah, and they've gone over which ones are going to be it. They're kind of a lot of speculation on which ones. There's a lot of vintage, the original Gundam, original Zaku, as well as some of the newer ones with the really recent Seed movie that just came out. They have a couple of those, but those were just on display.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I think I mentioned it to Leigh, but I am very, very fortunate to have my best friend who actually won first place for the nation at this GBWC.
Wow.
So he was down in Orlando and saw this in person where they first presented it.
Wow.
And he
cool.
is very, very detail oriented and everything. I was very surprised on how excited he was. He got to see the display that they had at the Bandai Card Fest. This is the thing that I feel like I'm missing, that I mentioned before, that detail that you can do with miniatures. I'm doomed. Like this is gonna
You're not, because we're gonna actually do a thing, and I'm gonna drag Rob into it, and in 8 seconds now he's gonna get excited. But we're gonna do a hobby stream when this comes out, and we're gonna paint. We're gonna paint together. And Rob, in 8 seconds you're gonna be so excited that I want you to come paint miniatures with us.
Oh, that's hurting his feel goods.
He wants to paint. He wants to paint real bad.
No. It's I would like to paint, but I'd like the embarrassment level of here's the entry level painter, and then here's you guys, and I'd be like, well, I threw paint on this.
But that's what I want to do, because I have taught dozens of people who never thought they could paint a miniature how to paint a miniature. And
I mean, I've painted miniatures, and I've had some that have turned out well. But it's been a gap of 30-ish years since I've done it, so skills are rusty.
I hear you. I accept what you're saying, and I refuse to acknowledge that you're not going to paint with us.
Fine.
So, what is so exciting about this smaller scale? What traditionally, like 1/100th scale for Gunpla? Larger?
The majority are 144 for the high grades, because that's the most variety. Okay. That for those of you that are like thinking, what's that scale? It's a Marvel Legends. Think of Marvel Legends around that. A 1/100 is more. It's about 6 to 8 inches, depending on which one you get. More 8 inches. With usually they have more inner frame details, that like a full skeleton on the inside, as well as real grades.
I'm glad that they're using traditional model scales, because this is where things get really confusing. If you're wondering what he's talking about when he says 1/144, it's basically saying that if you wanted to know how big a model is, and it says it's 1/100, stack 100 of them on top of each other, and that's how tall it is. If it says it's 1/72, stack 72 of them on top of each other, that's how tall it would be in the real world. So,
and as a corollary to that, the Marvel Legends series and similar figures are either 1/12, so like
12 of
this figure is roughly 6 inches tall,
right?
So stack 12 of them together, it's a 6-foot person.
Right. But in miniature scale, it gets really confusing. So the traditional Warhammer scale is 128 or 28 millimeter, which is the measurement of a standard human standing up from its toes to its eyeballs in millimeters.
Yep.
It's the stupidest damn thing in the world. Right up there with like imperial measurements. So anyway, regardless, I'm not quite sure the scale of Gundam Assemble. It looks like it's maybe 120. 260 or 300, right. Somewhere in there.
Something.
There was the trade copy said the figures are roughly 2 inches tall.
Yeah.
And so compared to that, the one that they had in Japan, the full-sized one, that was how many stories tall?
Yeah.
Like 10 or 12 stories tall.
Yep.
Did that get dismantled, or is it still there?
It's in progress. It was going to get dismantled. It's not going to be automated. They were going to move it.
I thought Guillermo del Toro was going to steal it when he was there.
Yeah. As he should.
I thought he was just going to like morph into a bodysuit and disappear. So if anybody could do it, it would be him.
It would be him.
All right.
Pacific Rim 3.
So have you? There are people out there who have done that have done Gunpla games, that have done tabletop games that incorporate the full size Gundam models. The 1/100 scale models are really great for 15 millimeter miniatures. But once you get up to like the 144 and higher, you're looking at 10 millimeter, which is a real headache to paint. But they look great in dioramas. They look really good in a diorama. There's nothing like seeing a mech with a human included in the diorama for scale. Yep. So, are you going to be getting these? Are you going to be playing this game, or is this just going to be a hobby flirtation for you?
It will sure be a first great date, I'm assuming. I am planning. So one of the interesting things that I wasn't aware of when I was kind of looking back and looking deeper into it, this is so frustrating. Supposedly, the Gundam Assemble is also going to be interactive with the Gundam card game, the TCG, that they're also coming out with this year.
Okay.
And how that's going to work, I don't know, but that's when there gets to be more and more variety. I'm a sucker for that. When it's more art exposure, more simplicity, like try this, add on a little more. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got me hooked.
Yeah, Battletech just recently did that. They put out a set of rules called Alpha Strike that streamlines everything and makes it so you're not worried so much about heat. You're not so worried about some of the mechanical problems that come along. So it makes it so that, as the guy that was presenting it to me said, "Oh, it makes it so you can play a game of Battletech in like 2 hours." And I was like, "Son, I don't have 2 hours."
Yeah, it does now.
I got naps.
Oh man,
have you been around old men? We just I am looking forward to the game, mostly just because I'm a giant nerd for this stuff. And I actually started watching, was it Requiem for Vengeance that was on? Yeah. And really neat, spiffy stuff. Because then I went back and watched like one of the 1980s cartoons and was like, okay, we've come so far.
It's been a bit of a leap. Yes.
Yeah, just a bit. All right, I want to show off some of your work, Leigh. So.
Oh my gosh.
No, don't. This is good.
No pressure.
This is good.
Yeah, seriously.
Because I want to point a few things out while we're looking here, and I need to compliment you on something. I got to compliment you on something.
This is what you did wrong here.
No, I'm not that kind of guy. So what do you got here? Looks like turtles.
They are kind of turtles. They certainly look like them. So this is from the Iron-Blooded Orphans line. It's a series of Gundam. This is the main character painted like turtles. There's a number of variants in the show. Very obviously, I was able to do all the turtles. Thank goodness. They are 1/100 scale.
Okay.
Excuse me. All of which are straight painted, airbrush lacquers. I did a little bit of panel lining. Mikey there on the end, I did quite a bit with. A lot of kit bashing and other things to make it work with what I had in mind. These competed up at IPMS Seattle. They didn't ribbon or get any places. I also didn't know, when you go to an IPMS or a really big model competition, they're going to be pretty strict, which is hard and good, because it's like, yes, here's the mistake. You can correct it. Like, this is possible. That's
you don't bring your ego to those things.
No, you really don't.
Yeah.
And it helps when it's not like they're being shameful or anything. It's like,
no,
yeah, you missed this, and that's it.
It's critique, and critique is not negative.
Yes.
Critique is constructive.
They are very good critiquing up there. So these I can critique saying, yeah, there's plenty of little mistakes I did because I rushed it, and frankly, I had a lot of fun just making people see this and saying, haha, that's great. So that's what these guys are.
Sometimes those challenges, those timelines that we give ourselves on a project, I actually perform really well under that when I'm making scenery for game tournaments and stuff. I will literally wait until the week they're needed, because I'm going to produce maniacal work during that period of time. Yeah. This is beautiful. What are we looking at here?
Thank you. So this is a master grade 1/100 MG full saber quanta is what it's called.
Okay.
I painted it to look like a Power Ranger. As you'll see, all my things, I really like crossovers, and
it's a lot of tribute work.
I did it, and I know not everybody's a big fan of Jason David Frank, the man who played Tommy Oliver.
Yeah.
When I went to FanX and I wanted to meet him, he was very cool. He'll basically do anything for fans. He's a great showman like that. I went up to meet him. I had him sign something, and he asked, "Hey, you paid for this. Did you also pay for a selfie?" I'm like, "Nope, sorry, I'm good. I appreciate it, but I'm good." And he reached across the table, pulled me in, and said, "Let's do this." And I was like, "Aw."
Oh,
so
that's nice.
A little kind thing that he did. I wanted to pay a little bit tribute for when he passed away, not too long ago. The cool thing about this in particular is I painted it to be also put into what's called the Cerulean Project. I invite everybody to look that up. The Cerulean Project is a publication that literally just does a color theme each year, and then all the proceeds go to the Trevor Project. So this year, for this one, volume 2023, yes, was green. And so I submitted this for the publication.
I love it when hobby groups do stuff like that. Like, I know you're familiar with my friends down at Shiv Games in Kaiser.
Jeff,
and every one of their tournaments has a charity that they're donating to, which is fantastic. So, okay, is that decal work on the chest?
No, that's some new stuff that Bandai is making. This is one of their more recent series called The Witch of Mercury. It's like an under decal that they put underneath, and it's actually, that one's a fun one. I tried to see this one. I tried doing the Star Boost, like Gemini Iron Man. So I put decals, stencils in the black to make it look like hexagons. Nice subtle details on that one. That one was a lot of fun. All of the ones I think I've shown you, I think I've only kept the Green Ranger model. All the rest of these I actually give away for free.
In assembling, painting, kit bashing, the whole 9 yards, how long from start to finish does one of these usually take you?
For me, total hours, probably a good 20 to 30 hours at least. I wish I could say days or weeks, but I'm a lucky father of 4 with a full-time job, so it's just little bits here and there.
I have a hobby scale when it comes to value that I use. So say this model cost $100. Say you make $20 an hour. This is hypothetical. It's not you.
Yeah.
So did you get 5 hours of entertainment out of that model?
Yes, good scale.
Well, you got 30 hours of entertainment out of that model, which means that your entertainment worked out to like $2 an hour.
Exactly. I work in a pretty stressful work environment with my job. And that's part of this zen with models in particular. If I make a mistake, and this is aimed at you, Rob, with painting even, or making a scratch or doing something like that, learning how to do a simple fix, having that wonderful satisfaction, like, I fixed it. My job during the day is chaos and I can't fix those things, but I came home and I fixed something in my little world. That's what brings me my peace.
There is a zen to model hobbying, for sure. Okay, this.
Oh, good lord!
What is this guy?
This is actually a Digimon.
Yeah, is that a Greymon?
Close. It's the Mashidramon. So normally he looks just like a giant robot gray T-Rex with wonderful blasters, and then I just painted him like a Beast Wars Megatron.
Okay. I absolutely love Digimon with a passion.
They have a lot of Digimon kits. The details on them. See, now you're gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to go get one. Hang on.
All right, I'll load another image while he's running off to grab a Digimon. So, there's a story here.
Of a lovely lady who's bringing up 2 very lovely mechs.
yeah, thank you. So we'll do a little editing magic here.
Okay, so this is a good example of the before and after. This is the main character, nothing done, and then afterwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you only get that kind of smoothness with an airbrush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you learn how to
That's
thin
not a knock.
appropriately, which is what Leigh taught me. Then your paints.
Do I follow that? Yeah. No. But your panel lining in here is really nice too.
Thank you.
It's really good. Really good. Do you use their pens, or are you in there with like an oil wash?
It's the Tamiya panel liner, like
good
made
stuff.
Just for panel lining. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, I love that, the crispness of it. I've been playing with oil washes a lot lately, which is driving my wife crazy because I'm making the house stinky.
Yeah.
But boy, the results are fantastic. This guy, what on earth is that? It's got some big old calves. Yeah.
That's a Gundam Virtue.
Never skip a leg day.
Never skip a leg day. He's actually has a full, like, this is his armored version. He has a white version underneath that I tried doing like a Transformers
enough
Generation 1 Ultra Magnus.
Watched enough anime to know a Hulkbuster when I see it.
That's right.
There's armor in that armor, kids.
I'll give a quick shout out, if you don't mind, MRS Hobbies in Sandy.
Yeah.
I think I still have one of my model kits there. I actually bought this there before I moved. So
yeah, MRS is fantastic. They're one of those game stores, and I'm like, I say game store, and you're going to say a Gundam store, and somebody else is going to say train store, and none of us are wrong.
And it's so packed. It's like, when you walk in, it's like walking into a claw machine fully packed. It is.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
And you may not know this, but they also have a second location now.
They don't.
North Salt Lake, right?
South Salt Lake.
It's gone. It's gone.
Oh. They had a second location.
And it was wonderful. I loved it because I could get to it in 12 minutes. It's literally just down the street from me. So, what do you got here?
Man Ripper. So cute. On the beach, on the coast. This is a really fun number 57 brand.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun, really articulate. They've been doing a lot of very small, sometimes animal themed, sometimes very unique mecha. If it's us three here can all agree, if you see a robot you've never seen before and you're just like, oh, what is that? What? And it's thrilling. So this was one of those things, because I am probably only second. My first love is mecha. Second, right behind it is sharks. So I had to get it.
Mecha shark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty much doomed at that moment. So I love it. And I can tell there's just a ton of ball sockets in that thing. So
there was.
Okay. This one right here is the one that I wanted to get to before I wrap up show and tell. Your highlighting work right here is
thank you.
Stunning. That is fantastic.
Thank you.
And that takes some skill, which brings me to my final thing. And what I try to emphasize when I talk tabletop games with people is that, like Rob and I were talking last week, the most important part of wargaming or tabletop gaming or role-playing games is what gets you in the seat in the first place, right? So a lot of folks get intimidated when they see this aspect of the hobby where somebody like you puts in such amazing work. We're talking dozens of hours, beautiful buttery blending on your airbrush work there. How many years have you been painting?
2.
I'm gonna say about 4.
Okay.
But that's expanded with, like, if I was single and didn't have kids, like, it would probably be 2 years ish.
Right.
Wow. And that's fantastic.
It's just little trying it out. Why not just try it out? Because literally, if you, like we just showed that blending, you tried it once, you completely screw up. Oh yeah, I screwed up because I tried this. Let's try something else. 3 or 4 times you try it, and then you're good. Like, this isn't trying to hit a 3-pointer and you keep missing every time. No, it's right there in front of you. So it's very simple once you, as Leigh said, take those first steps. That is the hardest.
You got to take those first steps if you're curious about it. And my friend Steven, who I'm hoping we'll have on the show here eventually, Steven's a great guy. a wonderful painter, and he got that way by asking 5,000 questions. And so he would see somebody who, it wouldn't even be, oh, I like the way you paint. It would be, I like the way you paint beige. Teach me how to paint beige. And he would sit down and just watch and practice and watch and practice. And he's one of the best painters I know. But I was blessed that I found a game group where everybody there just continues to paint, continues to game. It's the same with, I look at 5.5 or D&D 5th edition, and all I see right now is a wall of confusing text. But as Rob would say, you got to take those first steps, and it all becomes a lot clearer to you. So, all right, you're headed to Japan soon.
Shh. I am. That same best friend whose Bandai is flying him out to Japan, he asked his wife if he wanted to go. She couldn't, so right after his wife, it was me. So he said, hey, do you want to go? And I said, sure.
Oh, man.
So I'm still shocked that I'm lucky enough to go, and still shocked how cheap it is to get there.
You're over 6 foot, aren't you, Leigh?
That's the other problem. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My knees are going to be hurting after that flight.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go to Japan in the early 90s, and my friend that I was going to go with, she was just like, just realize that you are going to be one of the tallest people everywhere. Right? I was like, but I am the tallest people everywhere. And she's like, no, it's not a stereotype, and I'm not trying to be cruel to the Japanese. They're some of my favorite people on the planet, but I am a giant there, at least.
But you're such a friendly giant.
Yeah. But then I saw Attack on Titan, and now I don't want to go to Japan because somebody's going to.
That's right.
I'm not a rampaging murder beast. Leigh, do you have social media people can follow along, see your work?
Please do. So find me on Skyfire_Riser. That's my Instagram handle. That's where I'm on most of the time. If I'm not on there, I'm really hopping back and forth on the Geek Show Discords. Find me on there just under Lang. Hop on the workbench. I have a lot of recent stuff in there. I kind of feel like I kind of took that over, but if you please, someone else post stuff in there. I don't want to be the only one.
But it's such good stuff, though.
I keep meaning to, because I put it there for me to show off, but I like looking at your stuff more. So,
and now the teacher or the student is the master.
I told him that.
No, I love seeing it. Like anytime I see anybody take on a hobby or a part of the entertainment industry that, I shouldn't say entertainment industry, but part of the hobby industry that just speaks to them, and then they just dive into it, and it becomes part of them almost, right? It's like a symbiosis. You are Gundam. You're not Venom. You are Gundam. But it's good stuff. Rob, Action Figure Theater, where can people find that?
You can find it on Instagram and Threads.
Nice. And you can find me at grimly.com. It's on the screen if you're watching. And of course you're watching, because if you're listening, somehow you managed to find the audio broadcast that I haven't made yet. That was very clever of you.
And I apologize if people are looking and wondering, what in the world is Cuddle Beastie? That's left over from Geek Show Arcade for remembering my name. That's my Xbox handle for trash talking. So
that's how I knew I got a friend request from you on Pokemon Go.
Sparky, that's right.
Yeah. All right. And also, I'm brand new to Blue Sky yet again at LGcade. I am going to be posting a lot of spam there, but mostly whatever the hobby is. I love what you said last week, Rob. It's whatever gets your butt in the chair, and whatever gets you in a feeling of community. I have found that you could be the loneliest person in the world, but the second you start painting models, the second you start playing games, you have a community. And I've seen this with the Battletech community. I was just recently, some of the Battletech people have been reaching out, like out of the woodwork, like, oh, you like Battletech? Here's 5 things you might like. Like, why are you guys so friendly? Oh, because your hobby almost died, and now it's flourishing again, and you're all very excited that people are interested. And that's what I think we need more than anything as consumers of geek culture, is that sense of community that we get, whether it's from something like the Geek Show podcast, or whether it's from going to a Warhammer tournament. If you can find a non-toxic group of peers, a coterie of folks that like the things that you like, that don't make you want to pull your hair out. This is why I don't have any.
We've all gone through it here.
Yeah. three-headed troll of Baldies here. So find that community and cherish it, and be a good steward for other folks that are looking to get into the game later. So Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, and we'll talk to you next Monday, because I'm committing Monday, every Monday, this thing, this Geek Show, this tabletop, this world of dice, miniatures, and books. Thanks for tuning in.